which favorite players are going to attend. And I think if you're a fan of the Koreans or the Chinese or even the North Americans who didn't qualify, and like the only North American who qualified was Neeb, I think, then that is the only way you're going to find out if they're actually attending, because they have to pay their own way. It's a gamble for them. Then I highly advise actually checking out those brackets. In the top right, as the blue Terran, it is time. In the bottom left, as the red Protoss, it is Deer. We can actually take a gander at those qualifiers. And bracket, because why not? You don't have any proxies. I'll talk about the players in a second if we have more time, but I think it's more interesting to go into this. So server qualifiers, Korean 2, I believe this was. Yeah, Parting did qualify through this bracket. And then there'd be one more qualifying spot. And then the other Korean qualifier had 3 Koreans qualify: Stats, TY, and Solar. And the main event, so watch Probe do its thing. Those are all the seeded ones. Maybe the official website has the bracket, because Wikipedia does not. Oh, no, wait, hold on. Offline qualifiers. There we go. Let's see. So a lot of the Europeans are expected to attend. That makes sense. Europe being very accessible. Congrats, guys. Well, a little less so for the UK now. Brexit, am I right, guys? But as far as any of the out-of-towners, guys have to actually fly over on their own dime or their team's dimes. We still have a lot. IEM is usually worth it, and they even made it so the prize pool is better, trickling down to help out those guys who don't make it necessarily to the round of 16. But we have Estrella coming in, which I'm super excited about. Patience, SOS, Creator, lots of Korean Protosses. That's just one side of the bracket. There's actually 4 brackets in total. Starting to get a little bit something to talk about, though. So Reaper comes in, not going to quite get the Scout and the Stargate. It is a Stargate here from Deer. Time playing pretty safe with his bunker on the way. And a 1-1-1, just as an update. We have Innovation paying his own way. Impact and Time will be attending in offline bracket number 2. So best of luck to him. Very curious to see how he does. As, he's been kind of eyes on him. He's representative of the Chinese region in a way that I don't think anyone really has before. I know people are going to label, start telling me Chinese names from the NASL days, and that's totally fair. But even then, it was like their weird style came in, kind of made a bunch of, fans for their style. Goodbye, Reaper. And they kind of got wins because their style was different. Time comes in as someone who is basically mimicking the Korean Terrans in terms of build orders, meta style, decision making, and just multitasking. His ability is very reminiscent of maybe a Maru, if I may be so bold. And his performances in a more consistent market, I think, is also more impressive. The 2012 StarCraft was still a bit of the Wild West, kind of weird. As the regions still had their own styles, as I mentioned, and also just so many tournaments to keep track of. It's actually kind of hard. Oracles is not expected to do very much. It's actually kind of bold of it to go directly into that natural mineral line, considering it could have been a 1-1-1. Could have been Widowmines. It was, but the Widowmine just wasn't in the right place. Good drag and drop tries to get the Oracle. Not going to happen. And it won't be able to pair up with its buddy, and Deer even committing to a Phoenix as well. So almost looking like a PvZ opener, right? The fast third base and then the gases. It's one of the greedier third bases. I mean, he even has a wall coming down to the natural. That's how much it looks like a PvZ right now. But, okay, all right. If he continues making Phoenix, then he is, then I expect that Twilight Council to get charged and a Robo to be slapped down to get into Colossus. But spending an awful lot of time not getting additional tech. I mean, he has time. Incoming puns, right? He has time, and he has scouting to say you know, Time, he's got this build, which isn't necessarily aggressive. In this case, it isn't. It could be, I guess. You could always just pack up everything and go across the map, but generally isn't. You're going to wait for the medevacs and wait for stim. And he could just actually see the army moving out if it were one of those weird pack it up and move it out moments. What could he do if it was going to be just move out? I'm not even sure, because Time is actually doing that move out. So, and I think this is very appropriate. Time doesn't know about the third Nexus. He doesn't know about the Phoenix until just now either, I think. So this is just his plan, perhaps all along, against a Stargate, which can certainly work. But I feel like it's going to be extra effective against a Stargate that was this greedy. And, okay, like, I'm going to see how Deer holds this one. A Stasis Trap is available, and that could certainly help a lot. Obviously, the Phoenix would love to lift the tank and the Cyclone and the Widow Mines. Okay. Widow Mines and Cyclone take out of the equation. But Time will be equally aware of targeting down those Phoenix. It is a Combat Shield's first push as well, so there's a little bit more dedication to this. He's going to go ahead and just wait for all the Stasis units to recover. He's actually going to set up quite a little push here. I think Deer has already bought enough time to be okay against this, but he does need to engage perhaps before the bunker finishes. He chooses to engage right there. This looks to be going pretty okay. Phoenixes are not being target fired, but the Adepts are getting constantly bombarded by the Marines. And there is nothing actually targeting the things in the air, which is always that weird conundrum. So all the units in the air, or a lot of them, ended up surviving. SCVs survived. Bunker's going to finish up here. Marines now perhaps going to target fire those Phoenix. Don't have to. They take out the medevac, but there's finally left in the tank. It took a little while. The two tanks still doing a lot of damage to the fight. Immortal had its shield popped, and there's still a handful of Marines left. Stim starts, +1 starts, and just the continuous rally through Eternal Empire. His Time really wants to punish Deer, but I think Deer just bought too much time. This feels like such a greedy build. Oh, thank you, Borsty. He feels like such a greedy build, and I understand that, like, you know, Time was something he had to buy, and he certainly bought it. But, geez, Time unable to punish that. It's quite unfortunate for him. As I said, he dedicated, you know, not the most to it. It's not like he pulled all the SCVs, but I think that was supposed to do more damage. The good news is he does save his tanks, even this really, really weak one. He does still have okay timed upgrades. You know, +1 is going to be faster than Deer, as he had to sacrifice a lot to get as much economy as he did, and also still pump out the Immortals. He barely was able to scrounge up, but yeah, he doesn't have upgrades, and he doesn't have a lot of tech right now. So that's still things to consider, but the overall supply not looking very hot, and of course Deer is now perfectly saturated on 3 bases, going up to 4. So yeah, he might not have a lot of upgrades, but in about 2 minutes here, especially with Chrono, he's going to slap down a ton of gateways, he's going to have charge, he's going to have 1 billion units. In Time might be like, well, I have tanks, so that's really cool, right? But is it cool enough? I don't know about that. He's actually just going to go ahead and continue with the push, pulling 3 more SCVs, despite the 3rd command center, which is going to be canceled, by the way. So this just takes away any plan of a macro game. And I think Deer might just be able to hold anyways without those Immortals. Now, this is hitting before that charge. This is hitting before all those gateways finish, as I was just talking about. So this might actually be the perfect time to do something. And Deer, once again, has to buy maybe 60 seconds here. I think it'd be a lot safer he had +1 in charge. But is he going to be able to do that? This now has stim as well, so the Phoenix can't... They really can't reliably pick up units. They can't pick up the tanks. Oh, there's the SCV pull, because why not? 3rd DC was killed, right? You're totally all in at this point. Deer with a huge army supply, but just no charge. And very little tech on his side. Looks like he does manage to fit in a couple of Archons, but bunkers are coming down to create some Sim City and just put the Marines in them, of course. Phoenix are doing their best to just tackle the reinforcements, which is their best option. I do like that. But this is a nasty little push. The tanks hidden behind the bunkers as well. Even with charge done, those Zealots are going to have just the worst time actually doing anything. They actually get funneled through the bunkers a little bit. The tanks, though, are finally pounced upon. It took a little while, but they were ripped through. They're picked up even now. A lot of Marines are still left over, but only 1 medevac, and she's out of juice. 1 tank barely survives here. Time making this very, very close. The Warpin is slow on that left side. Immortal's about to go down as well, but no healing on the Marines means that every single sim hurts too much, and Deer is actually going to clean this up. Ooh, what a game 1. Damn. I am so surprised. I'm surprised that Time made it so close at the end there, and I'm surprised that Deer got away with that. I would be so tilted right now. I'd be like, Pro is really cool. This is a really cool race. Whatever, man. And hopefully never see the guy again, because, you know, I'm on ladder. But Time has to see Deer again. It's the best of 3. Thanks, mods, for keeping chat civil. In the bottom right, it is Time of Nightshade. In the top left, it is Deer. Thank you, Severin, for the 10-month resub. Much appreciated. Today was a great day for subscribers, so thank you very much, everyone in chat. Got a big host from Up a Tree as well, and I'm glad many of you have decided to stick around, so thank you very much for that. I hope you enjoyed the hype train earlier today. And I hope you're enjoying the games, because I certainly am. I've just randomly been choosing these replays, by the way. I've cast now 3 series, I think, from IEM replays. 3 or 4, but none of them have been a disappointment. I haven't gotten one that's like 2 games and then like, you know, they're both boring, or 3 games and they're all kind of lame. There's been at least one really cool game in every single one. And if you missed any of those casts or anything else I've done on my stream, you can always check out my YouTube channel, which I do upload daily. It is actually active. So appreciate you to subscribe over there, and that subscribe is free. So that's cool. Just a little bit of harassment here and there. Alrighty then. Didn't talk much about the players because I was going over who is attending Katowice, which I might do after this if there's still nothing really going on. But Time, you know, I actually did talk about him a fair bit. Kind of the best representative from China in a while. He literally is, actually, by the way. I know I kind of quickly cut off the NASL viewers of 2011 before they had a chance to say anything. But actually, like, he's the only Chinese player to reach the top 4. Yeah, top 4. He never reached the finals, did he? Am I freaking out here? But top 4 since the WCS tournament was, like, conceptualized. So that's pretty amazing, and he's been consistent too. It wasn't just a one-off thing. Fairly consistent anyways. Wasn't it TY and Rogue played like a super long best of 5 series? Yeah. Pretty long anyway. It's not like super long. Is this still the off-season? Well, kind of, yeah. Until you have an actual premier tournament go down, it's like the off-season until the first one happens after the World Championship. So, BlizzCon to IEM Katowice. Even though Home Story Cup is like, it was premier in terms of the actual technical aspects of a premier tournament, especially because the prize pool is doubled. There's no points awarded, obviously, and it's one of those weird ones that's kind of around the balance patch. So, and it's also Home Story Cup, which is always a little... It's not so much about the prestige of the victories as it is about the enjoyment of the tournament as a whole, right? So anyways, yeah. Even with all these amazing games going down and qualifiers that are really important, it's still, yeah, technically the off-season. Helen's going to help out here. We do have something important to note. Time is adding on a starport now, but look at this. 3rd CC was already on the way. Something that Deer is not going to be able to scout very quickly unless he went for a Stargate, which this game he does not. He's going for a Blink opener and into still a pretty well-timed 3rd base. I mean, Robo double gateway coming down is pretty standard. If he knew Time was going for a 3rd CC somehow, then I think he would have gone for a faster 3rd Nexus. Maybe only gotten the Robo or only the gateways or some such. But it's really hard to tell they're going for a 3rd CC this fast. You know, these units just, they don't necessarily entail everything that's actually out for Time. So it's like, hey, that's like not a lot of units. Medevac's delayed. You can't really tell that as the player in the game. It'd be really, really smart of Deer to realize that. Too smart. Too smart. Anyways, let's talk about Deer for a second before we get into the game here. Deer is a super solid player. I mean, just generally, that's all the players will see in these qualifiers. All very solid, all have a chance to make it through. Deer and Trap were actually on the same team for a while. And it was kind of a funny dynamic. It was almost like the parting Squirtle dynamic, which I might be really reaching here for the people that actually know and be back in that timeline. But where like one of them would have some really great builds and the other one would execute them better. And even maybe like thank the person for the builds, but the other person was still getting farther. And they kind of like went back and forth on that. At one point, they both were the strongest Protosses, maybe not in the world, but they were like super strong. Deer was actually the best Protoss when he was on Mouse. You guys remember that? Back in, I think, WCS Toronto, wasn't it? Wasn't it? Maybe it was WCS Vancouver, or like, I forget. But yeah, he actually won a premier tournament. But it was kind of easy to forget about. You know, they're not in our minds like a Zest or Stats is, or even Trap now that he's really, really good again and made it to a GSL Finals. But I always liked Deer. I liked Trap better, if I'm being perfectly honest, but Deer was always really cool. And he would occasionally have some deep runs in the tournaments and doesn't do poorly in the GSL. You know, he's always a contender to make it out of the group. Any opinion on no foreigners qualifying for GSL? Not really. I didn't even see which ones tried to participate. I saw Droga got kind of close, and that's awesome. He actually even beat Dark in like another tournament, just not the one where maybe you could argue it mattered the most. But I have no real strong opinions on it. Oh, not GSL, but rather, yeah. The super tournament. Yeah. All right, so with 3cc, Time didn't have any potential push, unlike last game where I was like, well, he could, and then he did. Deer, unfortunately, got the latest scout on this pretty much as possible. It looks like his observer dipped in, saw a super late second barracks, and maybe then figured it out. Because he doesn't bother scouting any further or any more. But that does kind of suck, because as I said, he might have gotten a faster third. He might have totally committed to double forge. I think a lot of Protosses have kind of, they've kind of stepped back a little bit from double forge immediately, even with a mass gateway style, just because it's like a little greedy. Zest will still do it, though, and Zest is best. He beat him and then lost in the rematch. Gotcha. Still, very cool showing by Drogo. That's the takeaway I really got. So +2 is on the way. Time only working off of one upgrade. I mean, when you see 3cc, it's almost one of those like, well, why not just be stupidly greedy and go for double engineering bay? But Time didn't do that. He is going pretty quickly into 2 upgrades though, as his +1. I mean, it's not halfway, but still. Once you get a jump start on that, same as Deer almost, because he delayed that second forge as well. Quick Storm, which Time is going to combat with Ghosts. Ghost Academy actually builds fairly quickly. I'll give it some credit there. But you still need to wait for the ghosts to pop out, and then you still have to hotkey them. And I'm only being very specific about this course of action because Deer looks to be setting up for an attack. And if he attacks as soon as Storm finishes to try and make it before Ghosts, then that just half a second, 2 seconds, whatever, that you're like hotkeying your Ghosts can be really crucial. Because you're already under pressure, you know, you're dealing with the army, you're dealing with Warp Prism harassment. You know you have your ghosts on the way, but like, where are they? What's happening? And then you die. But it looks like the ghosts are going to be like perfectly timed with Storm. Perfectly timed. The Vikings are unnecessary in terms of dealing with any Colossus, because that's not coming out yet. It will eventually. We're going into super late game here. But it will be quite helpful for Warp Prisms that are carrying High Templars, which is almost a given in the professional scene now that you're going to have to do so, especially because the EMP upgrade, whenever he gets it, isn't started yet, is just like, it's a really, really good, guys. But they also help deal with any Warp Prism harassment. Now that Time isn't already dealing with it with missile turrets. I mean, he's got that fast 3rd CC going for him. Probably had a bit of surplus in minerals. Yeah, missile turrets are your friend. And as we get into the later stages of PvT, I can almost guarantee we'll see like 2 more up here. Or like 2 down here. Yeah, he already has 1 down there. Just not to worry about Warp Prisms is so nice. I mean, these professionals, a guy like Time with, you know, super high APM, good multitasking, they make those Warp Prism stuff not look like such a big deal until it is a big deal, right? They'll like combat 5 Warp Prisms and you're like, wow, what a god, and then 1 gets through and you're like, cool. I didn't mean for that to sound super biased and salty, but he came out though anyways. Point is, super passive game. Super passive game. And Deer might be trying to control the map, and that's cool. That's probably exactly what he should be doing. I feel like he could have been on Colossus a little bit faster. That's very nitpicky. There's those Vikings hunting around for that War Prism. War Prism trying to defend. Trying to run away from the Vikings and not successfully do so, but the High Templar is still getting a lot of storms, and wow, Time taking a lot of damage from the storms, but with a concave and just a high number of Marauders with a decent medevac count, he actually pushes through the storms and pushes through the entire army of Deer. That actually ended up being so in favor of Time, despite a decent number of storms coming down. I mean, the War Prism being sniped was like, wow, awesome, and then you looked at the rest of the Terran army, the rest of the Protoss army, and it was still kind of scary. But Time managed to make it work there. I think the concave size was certainly a contributor to winning that fight. And then otherwise, I guess the upgrade's not usually as one-sided as we're used to, perhaps, in PvT. And it probably should have been more storms, right? It probably should have been at least, like, maybe 1-2 more storms. I'm sure if I rewound and, like, actually really detailed it, we'd see some other problems there, but I'm going to continue with this because Deer is once again setting up for an attack. He certainly has his own good economy, 4 bases pretty quickly, 5 base on the way, 85 workers for him. Time at 77 is also pretty high there, and can replace a gateway army such as that pretty quickly. Now adding on that splash damage with Colossus as well. Clearly Time has access to producing Vikings, so he can't just depend on the Colossus to surprise Time, but Time gets the Vikings to deal with the War Prism and then does not continue making them, which might be a problem. Might be a problem. It's going to be 3-2 against 2-2, it looks like. Time, oh no, moves out at the exact wrong time. His planetary, though, is going to hold surprisingly strong. There's just no Immortals here to really bust it down. And, oh, actually, Deer, maybe that was a mistake. He doesn't get the planetary. I'll get it with a tank and a couple of SCVs. But now, Liberator siege up in his own natural. The Colossus aren't going to really get any shots quite yet. They're going to maybe go up that ramp and die if they're not careful. These two Colossus popping out the wrong side of the fence. EMP blanketing these Zealots as well. And the rest of the army, he has EMPs for days, apparently. And the High Templars, damn their slowness, are just the dragging behind. Wow. He needed those Colossus on the front line, or well, protected by something, I should say, and he needed those High Templars to move their asses. Instead, they were like, we'll get there eventually, we gotta do the floaty thing. We gotta look super dramatic with our capes, guys, it's really important. Deer with a catastrophic, quote-unquote, hold, as he doesn't actually die, but loses his natural, loses all of his Colossus that he tried to sneak in there before Time had any Vikings. It turns out you don't need Vikings if you just jump on the Colossus anyways. Oh, and by the way, Time realized he didn't have Marauder slow. He won that fight over here without Marauder slow. Terran's such a good race, am I right, guys? Well, the game's not over yet. Deer still has 4 bases, even with his natural going down. Still had a high number of probes. And did push that back. And one thing that I'm all too aware of is that if you try and continue the pressure against someone who can mass warp in stalkers and gateway units, you actually might have a bad time. Usually you want to, up that count of bio, get Widow Mines perhaps, although Widow Mines haven't actually played a part in this game. And make sure your medevac count's nice and high before you actually engage again. Also, you want to make sure Marauder slow's done, which it finally is. EMPs are so damn good with that upgrade. I mean, it just encompassed the entire Protoss army, and now there's very little to defend, but the War Prism was hiding a couple storms, and those storms are hitting beautifully, but just barely not enough. The Marauders, once again, just powering through it with the healing as well. They are going to take out every single last unit here. War Prism even going down to the Vikings, and Deer, he cannot replace that army for the 3rd time. GG. Ties it up, 1-1. Final map's going to be on World of Sleepers, a map that I have a lot to say about in TVZ, but have no strong opinion in TVP. Actually, I think Terran players have said they like this map in TVP. But then I feel like I've also heard Protoss say the same thing. You could probably look up the actual stats, but stats often do not coordinate with mentalities, right? You can look at your map scores and your ladder and be like, what? I'm actually good on this map? I don't feel like it. Same thing can happen in pros for sure. In the bottom left, it is time. And in the top right, it is deer. I'm with you, Glaxian. I'm with you. I'm right there with you. In the interest of buying time and not just going over their very, very basic builds here, I'm going to go over some of the other people we will see in IEM. I thought Neeb qualified. I guess I was mistaken. That was maybe something else. So Neeb is going to be there, but I don't think he qualified. If you're in the open bracket, you didn't qualify. So Neeb's going to be there. Probe's going to be there. I guess, you know, TLO's actually not in Europe, so maybe it is worth noting he's going to be there. Cyan's going to appear. That's cool. Hurricane. Drogo might be coming in from Korea. Not sure about that. Nice will be there. Bunny. Pulse. I know a lot of people are Pult fans. I don't think I'll make it very far, guys, but I love everyone being hyped about it. Stage is going to be there. That's pretty cool. And Special will also be there. Again, I believe flying in from Korea. Su's going to come again, try and get that back-to-back titles. Very unrealistic. I mean, not only is this one of the, if not the hardest tournaments of StarCraft 2, and a very grueling tournament as well, Su's just, I mean, he's kind of weird to me because obviously he's very dependable with how many GSLs he's been to. Hello, for sure. But I think in the last year since basically IEM Katowice 2019, it's always been a bit like, well, is he really the best Zerg now? I mean, no, not really. Is he even top 3? Yeah, that's a big question mark. Like, hold on here. I don't think he's going to be winning. My money would still be on Cyril, actually. Who, you know, still a bit of question mark. He doesn't get tested very often. Doesn't participate in a lot of online tournaments. But apparently whenever he plays, he's still, like, bopping nerds left and right. And it's about time he wins Katowice, right? Or maybe he'll just wait until it's the actual grand finals of StarCraft 2 next year, and then he'll win it. We'll see. Oh, Reaper doing some scouting. Misses out on the probe, but the SCV does finish the command center, even though it's off. Because the probe is doing such a nice job harassing. Probe gets to scout a single Hellion. That's not really worrying. Reaper, oh, barely survives that high grounds. Way to go, Reaper. Needs to get a scout because it's so far been denied any scouting, and it is once again a Stargate similar to that first game. Will we have a second Oracle, a Phoenix? I mean, Time probably not going to do the same push, and Deer probably, well, definitely not going to do the same push. He has Banshees on the way, and Deer probably not going to do the same type of greed there with that fast third. I would expect, but I mean, I just thought it was amazing when I first saw it, anyways. The Stargate opener is supposed to kind of hard counter the Banshee, but hard counters actually don't really exist in StarCraft 2, which is a good thing. Oh, he's going to do the same thing. Fast third, delay, then gases, and then delay his technology. Just focus on Stargates. That's so... I'm almost infuriated watching this. I mean, I shouldn't be. Apparently it works, right? It's not like it's overpowered. It's like everyone's doing this, but... I'd be so angry. Anyways, it's supposed to do well. You revelate the... You cast Revelation. It's not really a word. You cast Revelation on the Banshee. The Phoenix take down the Banshee super quick because the Banshees are actually light, despite being mechanical. And then you're good to go. But there's always the you know, the two Banshees come in at the left side and you're on the right side. You overestimate your ability for the Stargate to counter them, so you don't build shield batteries, so one from each side start doing damage. Like, it almost always finds damage. And it does also have the potential to go into a push. Either the Banshees are included with the push, or they distract the Protoss so the push gets to come forward. That's not here. If he's going to do a push, I would say the tank, not two Cyclones. And we also have a third CC, so really would be surprised to see any type of push. Maybe like a kind of a faux push, maybe? Like, yeah, I can do something. I can even get some lock-ons on these Phoenix. That would be pretty baller, but not very committed. Banshees are going to team up with this push. Again, very limited information here from Time. He knows about the target, of course, but just 2 gateways otherwise. Deer goes into a decent number of Adepts as a Guardian Shield and is still pumping out those Phoenix. You can always lift the Cyclones, take them out of the equation. And they die fairly fast, the Phoenix, too. But, you know, ditto, they can get lock-ons. The Marines can target the Phoenix, something that didn't happen necessarily. It wasn't a key factor in that first game, but was very worth talking about. Banshee's going to now give themselves an opportunity to get some probe damage by doubling up like this. They will beat out the shield battery. Deer is on top of it for the most part. Gets cast a Revelation and get it done. The downside of pairing up the Banshees is that one Revelation takes care of both of them. And it looks like Time thought, you know, if there was an opportunity to push, go ahead. If you saw like the entire army up there, like sure, go ahead, but definitely pull it back. Those Adepts would have slaughtered everything. I think it was more just a, I hope I can kind of scare you push, though. Third Banshee's even taken out very, very quickly, and that's a bad sign. You really want these Banshees to either do more damage straight up or just buy more time by having to be chased around. These Adepts are looking absolutely terrifying. You do not have Resonant Glaives, you do not have any upgrades, and every unit did survive with that pullback, but I would still be scared. You know, the tank only fires on 1 Adept. The Cyclones get bopped because they go down pretty quickly. Like, it's a little scary. And then, you know, you got to split this army now. Not a very big army to split against the Phoenix and also worry about the Adepts, but trying his best here. 2 Cyclones could be lifted by such an army, with the Oracles also popping their attack, but I think to judge that situation correctly is difficult for both parties. So just going to back away there. Adepts still waiting for their turn at an attack, but not really dedicating to it. Deer goes into Colossus. That first game he went this build, it was weird because he had to defend such a big push, but apparently his plan was Colossus. I did say he would go into Colossus. It just took so much longer than I thought he would. It just was so insane to see him fully saturate on 3 bases, and I guess he is in this game too. This is what he wanted to do in that first game, and now he gets to do it. 3 base saturation super quickly, far before. Oh my god, his 4th base is going to be done. It's like this 3rd even gets SCVs on it. That's so insane. That's so gross. Blah. And then it's Colossus. Now, I already said, like, I'm making this sound like it's the most amazing build ever because I'm personally grossed out by it. But obviously it's not if it was to be used every single game, and this is actually one of the few times I've ever seen it. So let's talk about the weaknesses here. Deer, that army, that is the Adepts are going to be kind of useless as time goes on, especially because they're not being upgraded with Resonating Glaives. So kind of subtract them out of the equation. If the Phoenix have to fly over Marines with Stim, Combat Shields, and 1-1, they're going to get ripped apart. So let's just look at this army. That's not very big. It's not very convincing. Time could have an excellent fight, but he has to make it across the map. He has to take no damage from the Adepts or a Warp Prism or the Phoenix, you know, not lose any units that are slower or faster than the others. And he has to consider that while the army right now looks kind of tempting, the 2nd Colossus is on the way. The 3rd Colossus would probably be out by the time they get across the map. And there's got to be more warp-ins, because Deer's been on 3 bases saturated for a long time. There's got to be a dozen warp-ins. Not yet, actually. 8 gateways, so pretty strong count, but he is adding on more, up to 10 gateways. That makes sense. As he is now 4 base saturated, 81 workers. Time still sub 60. Wow. Oh my god. Is this game just already over? Is it? I mean, I just feel like it's over. I'm so dramatic right now, but I feel like it is. Deer's on a 5th base, guys. Like, good god. Time has to, and this, he's playing it right. You know, I don't think there was an attack at any point where he truly, you know, obviously could have won. I don't think that actually existed. It would always been a question mark. It would always been about finding some units out of position or good target fire or what have you. So he's deciding to just go for, like, the macro game, which is fine. If he can get maxed out, if he can take a defensive fight, then he still has a chance here, and he certainly can take one. Get a couple of Vikings, and by a couple I mean like 8 or 10. Get the EMP upgrade, get some Raid EMPs, take out the storms, take out the shields, and you got a chance. The army size isn't that different. It's the worker size that's different. But, oh, while he's got the defense advantage thing going on for him, he's going to be kind of choked down this base. It's a little bit awkward. 4th CC. Oh, no, the storms. Oh, those storms hit the heart of the army, but the EMPs also hit much of the army. Good dodge away from the rest of the storm. I think he has maybe one more in his pocket. No, it doesn't look like it. That's actually a Phoenix or an Archon. But, oh, it is such a disaster. I mean, the army doesn't look so bad right now as Time still has his army, but look at that supply. Oh, no. This was with Deer's army being down an upgrade, by the way. Oh, my God. Oh. Jeez. I'm gonna look at that fight again in slow-mo. I think that the storm hit... I mean, oh, jeez. Like, I was like, yeah, that army's really clumped up in this Sim City. And that did play a part. He tried his best to kind of, like, you know, tempt storms. But then, oh, look how bulked up it is. And the EMPs, they go down, but... I'm sorry, where are those High Templars? Hold on, I see sentries. Oh, there they are. I thought they were sentries. Maybe Time did as well. So he's like, yeah, I got this. It's fine. Let me just EMP. Unfortunately, he EMPs... The action of EMPing doesn't hit the storm before the storm hit the army. You know what I mean? He takes 1 billion damage on his units, which already has him down in army supply. He doesn't have enough Vikings either to both take on the Phoenix and the Colossus. Like, you can... you can take on Colossus Phoenix with a good concave of Marauders. You don't necessarily need to, like, win with the Vikings. It's just that there was not really any concave potential. And his Marauder count was already so flippin' weak from the storms. I think the worst thing about that fight was Time moving forward with his Ghost and Bio. Kind of a classic, very easy mistake to make. But he also just... He was in a super rough spot. I mean, he tried to punish that build with an earlier attack. Didn't work. And then he tried to play a macro game, and that didn't work either. So he